Hey YouTube, welcome back to LadyGi. Thanks so much for joining me again. Today I had the opportunity to chat with UmmiKulthum. She's 41 years old and trains Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in Tanzania, which is in Africa, and here is her story.
Okay, so my name is UmmiKulthum, and I'm from Tanzania. I'm 41 years old. I'm married, no children. I work full time, and I also train kind of like full time. Yeah, I'm the
Awesome.
eldest of five kids, and
Awesome.
yeah, that's about it.
Wow, amazing. I'm second oldest of five kids. So that's really,
Wow.
I've never met anyone else that has five, comes from a family of five. Did you play a lot of sports when you were growing up?
Uh, yes, I did. Um, I was quite hyper as a child, so my parents always encouraged me to try and do everything so that I could
Amazing.
burn all the energy I had. Yeah, so I did a lot of track and field in school. I played basketball. I did volleyball, and then I started taekwondo as well. So I started taekwondo very young, and yeah, I've been training it until now. I had a bit of a long break in between, but then I actually got back to it. So I basically do taekwondo. Yeah, and now
And now jujitsu.
jiu-jitsu.
Awesome. So what was it about jujitsu that like sparked your interest? How did you get into jujitsu and why did you stick with it?
So it was I was actually preparing for my taekwondo black belt exam, and I'd been already been preparing for like 2 years. And it was just such a random moment. I was on the couch at home and I was just reviewing my training schedule on all the things that I had been doing and all the things that I would still need to be doing. And then I just realized that I wanted to improve my self-defense from a non-taekwondo perspective.
Okay.
So I remember that there was this coach in town that I'd heard about a few years ago from different people. I honestly didn't know what he taught, but I knew that somehow self-defense was part of his portfolio. So I searched for him online. I found his Facebook page. I checked his credentials, and then I got his number and I gave him a call. And we spoke for like a few minutes, and I told him that I needed his assistance to, you know, I basically wanted him to help me out, improve my self-defense, so that I could feel more at ease with my exam. And he agreed, and I ended up training with him for 1 month. But the first time that I met him, we trained for like an hour, and he did a few self-defense moves, and my mind was blown. And I'd asked him, okay, what is this? And he's like, this is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I'm like, what? Because I had never heard of it before. And yeah, so I trained with him for like 1 month. And then after that, I couldn't stop training. So I signed up for his classes, and it's been 2 years since then.
Wow. What an inspiring story. And I love how open you were to learning a different discipline because most people like they learn their discipline, they're so committed to it for life and it's really you don't really hear it a whole lot. And I know a lot of people start off in like a traditional stand-up martial art like taekwondo or karate when they were kids, but I haven't really seen a whole lot of people see through it until they were adults and then open their eyes to something else. So that's really cool to see. So it sounds like you've been doing martial arts since you were like very, very young.
Sorry, we were breaking up in between, so I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what was it about jujitsu that made you not like it? Sometimes in jujitsu, and especially since you've been doing it for so long, you've been doing it for 2 years now. Was there ever a point in time where you were like, this is such a long like commitment because jujitsu is like, to get your black belt in jujitsu, it takes at least 10 years on average. Is there any point in time where you start to lose motivation? And if you do, how do you stay motivated? And how do you see it as like more of a long-term thing rather than a short-term thing?
Okay, so I've honestly not had any issues motivating myself. I grew up doing Taekwondo from a very young age. My parents were very strict with my schedule. So I always had to make sure that I didn't skip school, I didn't skip religious classes, and I couldn't skip training for any reason. And if I wanted to do any other things, like go out and hang out with my friends, I had to make sure that I made sure that I had done those three things before I could do anything else in my schedule. So I'm used to it. I'm just used to it. If I need to do something, I'll just do it. And so I have that, I think I have the discipline for such a long time. So even right now, even at this age, I schedule everything around those three things, you know, my work, my family, and my training. So jiu-jitsu is very hard. It's very difficult, but I haven't had to force myself or motivate myself to go for training. I always go for training. Even if I'm sick, I'm still there watching, you know, the coach teach the techniques, my teammates rolling. So yeah, it's actually just been okay for me. I haven't had that problem.
That's awesome. That's so inspiring to hear that you're so committed, because it's hard to, especially for females. I don't know about where you are, but I know here, like, it's always hard to get women to stick to jujitsu and see the long-term benefits, which is why
Yes.
most jujitsu academies here in Canada and in North America, there's not a whole lot of women, and it's always a complaint of a lot of people. It's like it's hard to retain women, it's hard to get women to come in and start training. So that's, you know, we need more people like you that, like, you know, doesn't matter what they're doing, they're scheduling their life around jujitsu. I think that's really cool. So what does your training look like for you? Like, how many days a week do you train? Do you train for tournaments, or are you just training for yourself? Do you do gi or no gi? What does that look like for you?
Okay, so initially I was training 4 times a week, but then my schedule got a little bit hectic with work. So now I train 3 times a week,
Okay.
and I do both gi and no gi.
Okay.
Before I was just doing the techniques in class, just, you know, for the self-defense sake. This is what I'm learning for myself. But then our coach decided that he was going to introduce monthly competitions within our club.
Okay.
Just to get people more comfortable, you know, with the competition vibe, not get nervous, get used to, you know, rolling with other people for competition. And so I've been participating in those competitions, and I found that I'm comfortable competing. And we've had a few international competitions as well. People coming from Kenya and
Nice.
Uganda, and it's been going well. So yes, I do compete. I enjoy competing
That's
actually.
amazing. Good for you. Good for you. That's really cool.
Thank you. Trying.
I know. Well, we're all trying, right? And what is the jujitsu scene like over there? Are there a lot of women in the jujitsu community in your city? Or is it
So
like,
it's similar to on your side. It's pretty much the same. It is extremely difficult to get women to, you know, take up actually martial arts in general.
yeah.
The women on this side of the world, uh, regardless of being Muslim or non-Muslim, they're quite conservative. So, you know, martial arts seems to be a very new thing right now, and jiu-jitsu is just like completely new. When I
Yeah.
started out, I was the only woman at the club. I had to force a friend of mine to join with me because I was like, I need some help here. I need some support
Yeah.
here. It feels, you know, feels really weird stepping into a gym with just only guys,
Yeah.
you know. So she was with me for a few months, and then her schedule changed and she couldn't continue, so I ended up being alone. I then got my brothers to try and join jiu-jitsu. I got all of them to join jiu-jitsu. So I now had male training partners. But then again, their schedules ended up becoming different. So I actually had to start training with the guys at my club. But what I found was that with time, things actually change. So being from just by myself, another woman joined the club, and then another woman joined the club. So from 1 or 2, we are now 8. Yes, we are now 8 women that are consistent
Nice.
with jiu-jitsu now. Yeah.
That's amazing. Eight is
So
a,
it's been very
that's a
hard,
pretty
but
big
it's
number.
been,
8 is an
yeah, we're
impressive
trying.
number to have consistently for a women's class. Um, so yeah. So what did you prefer? Like, do you prefer? Because I started off only training with women when I started jujitsu because there's no other women in the class.
Yes, this
There's like
other,
one or
right.
two, and then sometimes they would come, sometimes they wouldn't. But then I was like, I felt like I was wasting so much valuable time that I'm like, it's hard for me to get here, first of all, and to allot like an
Yeah.
hour, 2 hours a week. And
Mm,
then when I was there, I was like sitting out because there was no other ladies. So I actually started training with men for that reason. I was very picky
okay.
with who I was training with. Like, I
Yes.
wasn't just training with anyone. I was very picky
Okay.
with who I was training with. But eventually, as more women started to join and as our academy grew, I actually personally found it more beneficial for my jujitsu to train with women, because what I found, I don't know if you found this too, but when you're training with men, like, you don't really know if you are progressing because you don't know, like, did I get that submission? Did they tap because I made them tap, or are they
Yeah.
being nice? Like, or they try to like
Right.
really hurt you, right? Like, so you don't really know if your jujitsu is going anywhere. So I found that
Right.
with women, it's like you all will always know if that sweep was real, or if that takedown was real, or
Right.
if you actually tapped somebody out. How did you find that? Do you prefer working with females or with males?
So, like you, I initially had no option but to train with the guys in my club. I had to deal with it. If I was there to learn jiu-jitsu, I had to step up and deal with the situation. So I would end up training with the guys in my club. I found that for them it was also new. They didn't have a woman in the club before, so they were also a bit not sure how to deal with me on the mat.
Yeah.
Um, but it took a bit of time, but they were very supportive, very respectful. And but the rolling, it was a bit hard. But they actually just treated me like one of the guys, actually. So they would just be very strong and aggressive while rolling with me. So I also had a few injuries while I was trying to, deal with that. And then they also started becoming a little bit less aggressive and using more technique.
Okay.
So I enjoyed rolling with them and doing techniques with them. They definitely made me much more stronger. But again, like you, I could see my progress with jujitsu when I was rolling with other women.
Right.
And that is why I tried to compete as much as I could, because I really had to see if I was going anywhere. And I've competed for 2 years, and with the 1 or 2 women that have signed up now and again, and I've seen that, yes, it is actually better to roll with women, and I do enjoy rolling with women more. Yeah.
Cool. So why do you think it's always hard to retain women? Do you think it's because you did mention that jiu-jitsu is something very new and a lot of women don't really know too much about it? Or do you feel like it has something to do like culturally, or because of religious values, or the close contact aspect? Like, in your opinion, why do you think it's so difficult to get women to do jiu-jitsu in particular?
Okay. I think it's just new. There's a history of women doing striking sports,
Mhm.
but there's not a lot of history with women doing uh, untraditional sports like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, because I think first and foremost it is the the high level of close contact. It puts a lot of people off when they look at it initially, because they're like, oh my God, wow, that's too close, you
Yeah.
know? Um, so it's just because of the close contact that you have to use when you're learning jujitsu. But then again, I guess we just have to explain it that, this is a self-defense martial art. It is an extremely effective self-defense martial art. And when you are being attacked by an aggressor, you know, those are the uncomfortable positions that you're going to be ending up in. So we train those positions on a daily basis. You learn how to manage yourself in those situations and escape and get out, you know. So yeah, on this side it's exactly the same. The women here are conservative. They don't want to be so close to someone like that, you know. And
Yeah.
some of them might find that it's very aggressive, but if you know, we just really need to explain to them that this works and they need to give it a chance. And yeah, we have to just keep doing what we're doing.
Awesome. So you said that you
Yeah.
compete a lot. Is there anything in particular that you do to prepare for competition? Like what does competition week look like for you?
So competition week, it gets intense. The warm-ups become more intense and the reps become more intense and the rolling becomes longer. I watch what I eat in that week. And I also try to make sure that I include strength training as well, you know, on alternate days as well. And then like a day before the competition, it's just a complete zero. We just relax. We all just meet at the club. We just sit on the mat and we talk to each other and we ask questions on certain movements and stuff like that. We just try to remain calm just a day before the competition. Yeah.
Nice. And what's your game usually? Like, are you more of a guard player? Do you do gi, no gi? What positions do you like to play?
So I just recently got promoted to blue belt. So my job for the last 2 years was just to consistently survive. So I've been mostly been at the bottom, but I keep getting out. So I'm happy about that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what it is that I'm going to be learning now as a blue belt. Yes,
Yeah.
but I notice when I get on top, I'm pretty much very top heavy. I don't give up that position easily. So it's still too early for me to know like what kind of player I am. What do I enjoy? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Usually, like once you, I think at blue belt, purple belt, that's when, well, that's what they tell us anyways, is that's when, you start to really develop your game, or, you start
Okay.
focusing in on different things. Um,
Okay.
I, I recently am playing a little bit more half guard, like deep half guard is something that
Okay.
I really, really enjoy. And I think before
Wow.
that, I feel like we get so comfortable in jujitsu that we are so comfortable with certain techniques and certain positions that we do it over and over and over again.
Okay.
And so I got to a point where I was like, there are so many things that I haven't tried yet that now I'm starting to experiment a little bit. And I'm really, really enjoying
Okay.
it. So, like once you get to
Lovely.
that point, it it just becomes more fun, and then you realize that you
Right.
don't actually know that much jujitsu, right? Like there's so much that you're like, I don't
True.
know anything, right? Like there's so much to
Right.
learn. So yeah.
Mhm.
Um, what advice would you give to other females that are a little bit scared? Like they look at it and they're like, I don't know if this is for me, or they try a few classes and then they realize it's so difficult. I'm sure you've experienced this with females in your academy. What advice do you give them to keep going and for them to see that it's like, there's a learning process to it? What do you normally tell them?
Keep showing up. You know, there's really no instant formula. You should sign up no matter how unsure you are or anxious or uncertain. You should just sign up for your first jiu-jitsu class. And when you're done with your first class, go for your second class. And after you're done with your second class, just go for the third class. And if you feel that, no, I don't want to go for this class, just go anywhere and just tell yourself this is going to be the last class and you're going to show up. And then after that, you just keep going. You just try and just keep showing up, and eventually something will click, something will happen. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all I could say. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and I
you
think
know it.
that's yeah, no, I think that's the advice that everyone, like it's really just all is about showing up, right? Even on days where you don't want to, and jujitsu, when it becomes such a
Right.
big part of your life, you realize that when you
Yes.
don't show up, it sets you back. Like you feel like, if you miss a month,
Right.
I was sick for about 3 weeks. I
Oh my
missed
God,
free
no.
training and it was terrible when I came back. I was like, I feel like
I
I'm
saw how
back
miserable you were.
again. Yeah, yeah, it was really bad. Um, what
Yeah.
what do you do when it's Ramadan? Are you somebody who trains through Ramadan, or do you take the month off? What do you do differently?
So, Jiu-Jitsu has pretty much become part of my routine. So if I'm praying, I'm fasting, I'm training. So there's no much change in Ramadan. I still continue to train. I just have a slight adjustment with how I manage my meals. So I'll
Mhm.
probably just break my fast, go to train, and then like have a proper meal after that. But otherwise, my schedule stays exactly the same. This I've just experienced so much benefits from learning jujitsu. I'm so
Yeah.
much more calmer. I'm so much more relaxed. I'm so much more in control. I pray better, I fast better, I function better. So it's just become an integral part of my life. So it's whether it's Ramadan or not, it's still the same schedule. Yeah.
Yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
that's awesome.
Mm.
Yeah, I know like for me, I don't take the month off of Ramadan because again,
Yeah,
you take you take any time off and you're just set back.
back,
Yeah, it's
it's
really hard to
difficult.
come back from it. But I know for me, the water is really tough. Um,
Hmm.
so the food, I can go without food. Food, no problem. Like you can take food away from
Right.
me, but the water, that is the tough
Hydration.
part. So yeah, the hydration is really tough. And usually we're rolling at the end of class. Like we do technique, we do
Yes.
warm up, we do technique, we do specific, and then we roll at the end. And that very last rolling session, I'm just like, I'm
It's difficult.
it's
It's
really
not.
tough. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so um what do you prefer? Like, do you prefer sport jujitsu or like Gracie style jujitsu or the self-defense? Like, what is your favorite when it comes to the jujitsu learning experience?
So um, I can't actually comment on the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and the modern type. My coach is a pro MMA champion
Okay.
from Denmark. He's also a wrestling champion and
Wow,
he's a kickboxing champion and he's a second degree black belt actually in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
very cool.
So he's very much an MMA guy. So I've been learning the self-defense jiu-jitsu style from him.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm actually enjoying that a whole lot more. I don't know much about the others. Yeah.
And did you feel that your was it Taekwondo that you did in the past?
Yeah, I actually still do Taekwondo, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you feel like that prepared you in any way for jujitsu, or was it like completely unrelated?
It was completely unrelated. It was completely new. I could handle my own standing up, but the moment I was taken to the ground, I was useless. I was helpless. I was powerless. So I think that's also another reason why I fell in love with jiu-jitsu the first session that I had with my instructor was because I couldn't believe, how simple it was just to, understand my body better, move in a certain way, do some techniques, and then just be out from that pressure and that stress.
Yeah.
So jiu-jitsu has been a whole new thing for me, and I've been loving every minute of it. Every minute of it, yeah,
Is
yeah.
there anything that you find difficult? Like, of course, jujitsu is difficult. It's not easy. It's not a walk in the park for sure. But
No.
are there certain things that you find a little bit off-putting about it, or like how do you deal with frustration when you get frustrated with jujitsu or just in training in general, or if you're, if you can't get a certain technique to work, how do you deal with that?
Uh, so I did have that experience in my first year
Okay.
because um I could see that my teammates were able to do. I'm also much older than most of them in the class. I'm dealing with guys who are younger than me, and I'm dealing with kids who are old enough to be my kids. So I've had experience with some of them catching up on the techniques much faster than myself. And it did frustrate me in the beginning, but then I realized that I was actually setting myself back. I was focusing too much on what they could do and what I couldn't do, as opposed to just, focusing on myself. I just had to keep coming, keep showing up, and I just had to keep practicing the technique. And eventually, somehow, I got it along the way. But it was a difficult year because I was constantly comparing myself to the other teammates in the class. But then I realized that, okay, Umi, this is you. This is your age. This is what you can do. This is what you can't do. Let me just relax and just, keep showing up and just keep doing what I can do and just take it from there. And I found that I was way more relaxed in class. I was way more comfortable. I didn't feel any unnecessary pressure. So yeah, it was something I experienced, but I think I've managed it a bit better now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Other thing in class is just sometimes you can get, members on the mat who are just like sometimes a little bit annoying in terms of they feel that they're a little bit better at doing the technique, and they're like, come on, you should be able to do this now. So yeah, I try to ignore that, but otherwise, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's always about reminding ourselves, because I go through this too, and I think a lot of other people do too, is when we start to compare ourselves to other people. Like, you could start jujitsu at the same time as your friend. You could both like be attending the same classes, but you're always going to have a different style. Your bodies are different, like your abilities are different. The way you process information, techniques are going to speak differently to you than the other person. So I always tell people, like, stop comparing yourself to other people.
It's hard not to, but you definitely try, because that just messes up with your jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did you ever feel like your hijab was a limitation for you with respect to jiu-jitsu or even your taekwondo training? Did you ever feel like, because a lot of women feel that way, right? They see a sport or they see somebody doing something and they feel, I wear a hijab, so I don't think I could do that. Was that ever a problem for you ever?
No, I never had a problem with wearing my hijab or being comfortable wearing my hijab. I just, but if the first time I walked into the gym and onto the mat, I'm pretty sure that the rest of the people were like, oh wow, okay, so we have women on the team, and not only do we have a woman on the team, we have a Muslim woman on the team, and not unsure on how that was gonna go, but I think if they had any expectations or misconceptions about a Muslim woman doing jiu-jitsu, I'm pretty sure that's all gone right now. I have a huge support from the guys on my team and my coaches. They've been so amazing. They've been so supportive, and they are proud of me. I'm proud of having them, and yeah, so I'm good now with wearing the hijab, and I'm training comfortably.
Yeah, no, that's so awesome. That's so awesome to hear. I'm glad you have that support. That's so important to have in your academy, because your academy becomes your family, right? Essentially, because you're seeing them all the time, you're sweating with them, and you sweat with people, you really bond. There's that bonding. Yeah, so having that support is so important. So because you wear hijab, did you ever find it difficult to find a sports hijab that was like the perfect or as close to as perfect as possible for grappling? Because, just we can't have flappy fabric and pins and stuff. Was it difficult for you to find?
It was difficult for me to find, because usually when I train, I wear the Nike hijab.
Okay.
But for jiu-jitsu, I found it extremely just not useful at all. It was constantly moving, and I had to have to stop in the middle of a technique or rolling just to adjust it and put it right. It would make it very easy for my opponent to, maneuver me because of being so loose. But then I somehow managed to find something online. It's just similar to what you wear. It's just really tight.
Yeah.
So I've bought a few of that. It's not a brand. It's actually, I think, from China. So
Okay.
I just bought a few of that, and that's basically what I'm wearing when I'm training. So it stays really tight, and I'm comfortable with that for now. Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things for
Yes.
women that wear hijab is finding the perfect hijab, or near perfect hijab for jujitsu. That because I mean I'm sure this has happened to you, but like you get stuck in a headlock and then you're trying to escape, and then you could just feel things coming apart, and you're just like, oh crap, and then your focus and your attention is just all on your hijab.
You'll not believe this, but you've actually reminded me of an incident in I think for my first international competition. In the middle of the competition,
Oh man.
my hijab went like 3/4 of my head, and the referee actually stopped. He
Nice.
paused the match, and he stood over me. He's like, "Your scarf's moving. Can you adjust it?"
Wow.
So I just pulled it back, and then we just resumed again.
Continue.
So yeah,
Yeah, I know
thankful
that's
for
like
that.
my biggest fear. That actually happened to me in competition before. And my
Okay.
whole like all my concentrate, I was so mortified because, like competition, it's a public place and it was just it
Exactly. And then
literally almost came off.
it's
And
open.
like what are you supposed to do?
Wow.
You
Yeah.
just pull it and continue. Like I wasn't
And
even like
continue.
adjusting it. There's like hair coming out and I was just a mess. I was just a mess. Um, but awesome. Is there anything else you would like to add about? We are nearing almost an hour now. Is there anything you'd like to add or any advice you'd like to give to somebody who's looking to try jujitsu, or anything you want to say about how jujitsu has changed your life, or anything at all?
Uh, okay, so uh, yeah, with my personal experience, since I started learning Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, it has boosted my self-confidence in general. I mean, I come from a martial arts background, so I generally am confident, but learning Jiu-Jitsu, it just boosted that self-confidence because I felt that, okay, now, yes, I can handle myself standing up in a fight, but if something went wrong and I end up just being pushed to the floor or taken down to the floor, I'm still going to be very comfortable getting myself out from that situation.
Yeah.
So it has boosted my self-confidence generally for that. And it's made me more patient. I'm quite hyper, and I like doing things really fast and getting it done.
Yeah.
But jujitsu has taught me that it's actually okay just to slow down, because that doesn't work when you're busy doing technique and rolling,
Yeah.
you need to take your time, you need to be self-aware of what's going on. So I've seen that I've become very much more patient. I don't get annoyed so easily. And the biggest benefit I would say is that, I'm so comfortable now being uncomfortable. So,
Yes.
I find myself in positions in jujitsu where, I'm overwhelmed, but I'm actually very calm. So
Yeah.
it has helped me stay calm under stress
Yeah.
and in stressful situations, and just, have a very clear mind. And, I've been able to get myself out of difficult situations. So I've actually found that has helped me a lot, even off the mat, you know. Um, yeah, so for someone who is not sure about jujitsu, especially for women, you need to learn jujitsu. You need to learn to be trained to be comfortable with what's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I said before, if an aggressor is going to attack you, it's not going to be a nice thing, and he's just going to overpower you with his size and his strength. And jiu-jitsu is perfect for women that way, because you learn how to negate your aggressor's strength and his power to, get yourself out of those positions. Because most of these positions women are always attacked by. You get grabbed from behind, you get choked, you get taken to the ground, you get mounted on, you get pinned to the floor. And these are all movements in jiu-jitsu where you learn how to take care of yourself and get out of those positions. So it's an amazing martial art for women, and they should definitely just give it a chance and give it a try. Um, but the overall benefits are just, yeah, boost your self-confidence and, help you become more certain, because you could be anxious and uncertain about a lot of things, but I think training jiu-jitsu, it teaches you to manage that fear and
Yeah.
anxiousness, so you function better.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. I really like what you said about, and I say this to people all the time, is you learn to be okay with being uncomfortable. And the only way you're going to do that is if you start to put yourself in those positions. And oftentimes we
Right.
do in jiu-jitsu, right? In order for us to learn how to get out of half guard, or getting out from, if we're turtled up, or we get stuck in
Yeah.
bottom side control, right? Like the worst
Right.
position to be in, right? It sucks.
Yeah.
But sometimes we put ourselves there so that we can learn to get out, and we learn to be comfortable, we learn to breathe, and we learn to relax. And I think that's a very empowering thing, is once you gain control of that and you get that control back, because what happens, especially if you're a victim of some kind of assault, that control has been taken away from you and someone else is in control.
Right.
Once you get that
Right.
control back, it's so
Right.
empowering. And when you realize that
Yes.
only you are in control of your emotions, only you're in control of your breathing and regulating, all of your vitals, that is
Right.
so empowering. And I for me, like, jujitsu was huge for realizing that. And people can tell you until they're blue in the face that, like, take
Yeah.
control of your life and do this and do that, and you can do this, but you don't realize what you can really do until you're there and you're doing it.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do some rapid fire questions. So I'm just gonna ask you
Oh,
this or that, and you're just gonna choose. Just gives our viewers a little bit of insight, and I always like doing this because it's just fun. All right, you ready?
okay.
Okay. Are you a
All right,
guard?
let's go.
Are you a guard puller or passer?
Pastor.
Passer. Wrist locks, are they dirty or legit?
Mm, they're legit, but I don't like them.
Oh, everybody says that. Everybody says that.
No, no.
Fine, I'll take it. I don't like wrist locks, as you can tell. I hate them.
Mhm.
I hate doing them, and I hate having them happen to me, obviously, but I just don't like it.
Yeah, but it's
Gi, gi or no gi?
no gi. I know gi. I love gi.
Gi.
Yeah.
Okay,
Always
okay.
end up in no.
Do you prefer work or play?
Play.
Play. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Oh, everybody says cats. How come nobody likes
I had
dogs?
7. I have 3 now. Yeah.
Oh,
They're the best.
summer or winter?
Summer.
Summer. Morning or evening?
Morning.
Morning. Salty or sweet?
Oh, salty.
Salty. Do you watch shows one episode at a time, or do you binge watch the entire season?
1 episode at a time. I'm that good. I can wait. I will wait.
Wow.
I can't binge.
Awesome. You have very good self-control, because I'm like,
Nice.
just get it done. We're already this far. We just gotta keep going.
Oh,
Okay, would you rather fly or would you rather have super strength?
wow. I think I'd rather fly.
You'd rather fly? Okay.
I'd rather fly. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather find your dream job or win the lottery?
Dream job.
Physical strength or mental strength?
Mental strength.
Absolutely. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Extrovert.
Do you prefer a night out or a night in?
I like both, but night in. I like a night in.
Me too. Do you prefer expensive presents or homemade presents?
Homemade. I'm very sentimental.
Okay. Do you kill bugs if you find them inside your house, or do you take them outside?
It depends what it is, but most of the time I'll just take them outside. Yeah. Most of the time.
Do you prefer driving if you're taking a trip or flying?
Flying.
Flying. Would you rather travel to the past or to the future?
Future.
Future. Do you prefer social time or alone time?
Alone time.
Okay. Are you more of a thinker or a doer?
Or
A doer? Okay.
yeah.
Do you prefer having street smarts or book smarts?
Street smarts.
Do you learn by watching or learn by doing?
I learn by doing.
Okay. Do you prefer fresh food or fried food?
Fresh. I cook.
Are you cautious or bold?
I'm bold.
Do you cannonball into the swimming pool or do you dip your toe in first?
I cannonball.
You
Straight.
cannonball. And last one, would you rather sleep in late or take a really long midday nap?
I'll take a midday nap. Yeah.
Nap. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you, UmmiKulthum, for
Wow.
your time, for your
Thank you.
energy, for your insight. I learned a lot from you, and I think people watching this will definitely be inspired by you and your commitment to jiu-jitsu and seeing that it's not something that you learn overnight. It's a lifetime thing. It's a long-term thing. And
Right.
you have two disciplines that you did your taekwondo, which is a really big commitment, and then jujitsu, and opening your eyes to a different martial art I think is really hard for people, but the fact that you're able to do that and continue learning, right? It's not something that you ever stop. And I think people will really, really take to that. I know I've taken to that. I did not know that about you. So thank you for
Right.
sharing that. And hopefully,
Okay.
inshallah, one day we will get a chance to train together. I
I
would
hope
love,
so. I'm looking
love, love,
forward to
love
it.
to do that. And yeah, thank you. I will leave it at that.
All right, fine. Thank you so much for the invite and for having me part of this project. And also just a special thank you to you for helping me in my first year, even though you don't know it. But you are one of the women that, got me to stick with jiu-jitsu during my
Oh,
first year.
wow.
I was very conflicted in my first year. I had full support from my family, but it meant a lot when I saw you online
Oh, wow.
and teaching jiu-jitsu. So I was like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm fine. And then I was totally peace after that. So thank you so much for that. And keep
Oh, man.
doing what you're doing.
That's so heartwarming. And I think that's why it's so important to have people tell their stories, because I mean, the internet is a really interesting place where you can connect with other people on the other side of
Right,
the world, but it's nice to be able to find that common ground, somebody who looks like you and somebody who
mhm,
you can really resonate with. I think it's
right,
really hard to find that, especially in jujitsu or in sports
mhm,
in general, right? You don't see a lot of Muslim women, you don't see a lot of hijabis,
right,
especially at the high elite level. And so when we're able to see that, I think it really helps, and I don't think people understand how supportive that can be. Even though we don't train together, we're not in the same city, but having that
right.
virtual support is so, so important. So
It
thank
is
you. And
welcome.
yeah, happy New
All
Year.
right.
Inshallah, the year brings a lot of blessings for you. And
Inshallah.
I'll leave it
Same
at
to you and your family. Okay. Thank you, Zainab. All right.
that.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed my conversation with Kulthum and drew some inspiration from her story. If you know of another Muslim woman who also trains Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, please have her get in touch with me and send me an email at this email address here so that I can get in touch with you and share your story with the world as well. Thanks for always supporting this channel, and you'll catch me in my next video. Bye.